Hello everybody and welcome to today's lesson focusing on writing and correcting students' writing. First, I want you to send me your writing. So anybody is able and has the permission to send me some writing at any time, and I can use your writing to correct during this lesson and to show everybody and benefit everybody your corrections. Today I am using material from the Cambridge writing exam, and for this reason it's good, but I would prefer your writing for me to correct. I think it's more interesting, I think it's more realistic and more authentic. So please take your time, write whatever you want. The topic is not important. The weekend, your family, holidays, whatever you want. Take time, write something, send it to me, and I can correct your writing during this lesson. For me, that is better. It's more interactive and it's more interesting for you. So please do that when you can. So today we look at an essay question from a typical advanced Cambridge exam, and I'm going to try and show you some little tips and corrections to make in this writing. Here you can see the document, and as I said, this is from the Cambridge website, and I'll make it a little bigger so you can see, because it's very important, the size of the text. So this is a typical essay from the Cambridge Advanced exam. Of course, first I must show you the question so you have a good idea about the answer. And after, I will read this text, but be careful because there are lots of errors in this text. So we must be conscious and be aware and try to notice and identify the mistakes in this writing. Second, I want to explain to you the criteria for correcting the writing. Most exams, IELTS, Cambridge, Trinity, Escuela Oficial de Idiomas, most English exams have a similar criteria for correcting. And particularly Cambridge, you can see at the bottom, on the left specifically, content is the first criteria. Basically, content means, does your writing answer every question in the question, every part of the question? Normally questions have 2-3 different unique parts, and your job is to answer every single part of the question. So the content gives you the score in relation to this. So for example, 5 is the maximum, so this student probably has answered every part of the question. Next, communicative achievement. This basically is related to your tone, your register. Are you writing in a formal way, if that's appropriate? Are you writing in an informal way, if that's appropriate? So you must be aware who the reader is. Is the reader a teenager? Is the reader your teacher? Is the reader the public? You must be conscious of who the person is reading your text. And in exams, correcting writing, this is very obvious. And in the Cambridge exam specifically, this is the category, and 5 is the best and 3 is average. So always when you write, you must be conscious if it's a friend, if it's formal, appropriate, informal, etc. And that is this category. Organization is probably self-explanatory. Your writing usually must be very clear and organized depending on the form. For example, an essay, introduction, first paragraph, second paragraph, third paragraph, conclusion. That's typical for an essay. However, if it is a letter, You must have the appropriate introduction and style. That's important. And of course, in this section are linkers, technically cohesive devices, and you must link your sentences very well and comfortably together. Moreover, furthermore, however, as well as that, on the other hand, these types of linkers are very appropriate for this organization section. And finally, the easiest to understand language, your grammar and your vocabulary specifically. You must try to impress, you must try to show a very good level of vocabulary appropriately, and a very good level of grammar as well, in terms of variety of your verbal tenses, and the more complex structures the better. But everything must be accurate and precise, and basically they are the criteria for your writing most English exams. IELTS, Trinity, Cambridge, Escuela Oficial de Idiomas, most English exams in the world have a similar structure to your criteria. So that's a very important aspect of today's lesson. So this is the answer, and we will look at this answer and try to give our opinion to this text. Interactive. For you, I would prefer for you to leave a comment if you have a question, if you want to ask me a question, if you have a doubt, please put your question in the Facebook chat and I can answer any questions that you have during this lesson or after as well. So very simply, put a comment in the Facebook chat and you can leave your comment here and I will do the same. Hello everybody. And please leave a comment for the Facebook chat when you want. So that's very important, and interactive is a big part of these lessons. So let's look at the question. The question is on page 35. So of course I need to go to specific page here for the text, and I need to go to, here we go, why can't I go to page 35? Anyway, I'll just move up to the top of the text just to show you the question. And here is the question. Okay, I'll make it a little bit bigger if I can. Not really easy, I don't know why. Okay, there we go. So here is the essay question. You must answer this question. Write your answer in 220, 260 words in an appropriate style on a separate sheet. No problem. Here is the question. Your class has attended a panel discussion on facilities, related to facilities. Which facilities should receive money from local authorities? So the question is receiving money from the government, from the city council, from the local authorities. Which facility should receive the money? And here is the specific question. Which facilities should receive money from local authorities? Museums, sports centres, public gardens. So a general question, and I think you will have no problem with creating opinions and creating your idea, because this is a very realistic question and everybody is affected with this topic. So that's the first thing. I suspect you will have lots of ideas. This box is just extra ideas. This is a structure and a style from the Cambridge exams. They are just extra opinions, extra ideas. They are not necessary to use. Only if you want, only if you are stuck, you can go to here for some inspiration. But you should use some different vocabulary and express the same idea in different words. And that's just the way they produce and show the question. Okay, let's read the final part. Your instruction. Write an essay discussing only two. So you have three options, but you must only discuss two. of the facilities in your notes, and you should explain which facility is more important. So specifically, which facility is more important in your opinion? First, discuss two, and then finally, discuss the most important. Oh my goodness, excuse me. So that is your task, that is your job, that is the question, and that is the content section of the criteria to correct. Also, you must give reasons. You must give reasons for your supporting your answer. So of course you must give a reason for your answer. And then the final question is, you may, if you want, use the expressions expressed, the opinions expressed here if you want, but you should use your own words. Okay, let's continue and let's look at the first question. So I think I need to zoom out a little, and here we go. So let me make this the right size for everybody to see. I hope you can see it. It's a bit small, but I hope you can see and read this very well on your laptop, perhaps. So first, I will read this text just to give you an idea in total. Nowadays, many facilities could use money from local authorities. There are people who claim that cultural institutions should receive more money than other facilities. But which ones should receive more investment is open to debate. On the one hand, museums should be the institutions that need to receive a lot of money because people have lost the interest in visiting and promoting them. In a world where true values are not respected as they should be, it is important to remember what really matters. Moreover, the young men should be aware of the importance of knowing basic things in different domains. For example, science and history museums provide people very interesting informations. Therefore, in order to have well-informed teenagers, the local authorities should give money to museums. With that money, it can be organized events like the Day of Open Museums. On the other hand, green spaces should also receive money from local authorities, mainly because in big cities where the air is very polluted, trees can absorb many of the gases produced, leading to a much healthier environment. Furthermore, there can be built spaces for kids to play and also running tracks for people who cannot afford to go to the gym. It is important for people to keep doing exercises in open air, and in my opinion, parks are the best place. All in all, as far as I'm concerned, the most important facility that should receive investment from local authority are the museums. Okay, so this level, the expectation for this level is advanced C1. So when we are correcting this writing, we must keep in mind that the level should be advanced. What was your opinion? Do you think it's a good writing? Do you think it's a good essay? What do you think and why or why not? In my opinion, it's understandable, more or less. There's definitely a couple of very obvious mistakes. So I want to show you the mistakes that are very obvious, but some of the vocabulary is very good. Some of the linkers are very good. Some of the grammar is also very good too. So it's an interesting writing, and let's look at some of the corrections. So the first paragraph, nowadays, that's okay, and that would be considered a linker, I suppose. So it's a nice way to begin. And I just want to make this a little bit bigger. Nowadays, okay, here we have a modal verb, could use. So could is for possibility, and could, may, might use. That's fine, good grammar. Money from local authorities. There are people who claim. That's very good, and that's very fluent. The verb to claim is to say or believe. You claim to be the best student in the world. This cafe claims to be the best cafe in America. So a claim is something you say and something you believe. In fact, in English, we have a claim to fame. So what is your claim to fame? This is your famous moment. For example, you are related to a pop star. This is your claim to fame. So that's typical as well in that expression. In relation to insurance, we make a claim in relation to insurance. And that's very common and very important as well. If there is an accident in the car, an accident with your house, you need to make a claim. However, in this text, it's a little different. You claim is you believe or you say something. Okay, so people believe, people say that cultural institutions should receive, and again, this is another example of a modal verb. Should is typical for recommendation and advice. So people's recommendation, people's advice, institutions should receive. Very good. That's the second use of modal verbs correctly and very, very good. More money than. So here we have a comparison, and it's fine because we have the word more than. Okay. Normally we use adjectives, comparative adjective. You are happy, but he is happier than you. That's typical for the adjective. In this case, I think it's the comparative in the noun. You have more time than your friend. So that's fine. Next, we see a facility in the singular is with the Y at the end. And this is perfect because it's the plural. So that's correct in the plural. That's level intermediate. That's no problem. But the word other is very important for plural. Other people, other days, plural, other weeks, other years, other books, plural, 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 plural. So facilities is also plural. And if you have singular, you say another facility, singular. So the difference between another and other is very important. And this is correct. So the first sentence is very good here. But which ones should receive more investment is open to debate. That's a fantastic expression. If something is open to debate, this means people are free to discuss and to convince and to persuade other people. That's a debate. So if something is open to debate or open for debate is a very, very good English expression. The verb here is to invest. You typically invest money in, and the noun is investment. So this is good quality English, again, for level intermediate at least. One criticism, the first correction, is the first word but. For advanced formal essays, I would avoid starting your sentence with but. I would think of a better linker here, such as however, something different, because but is very simple and I might need time to think of alternatives, but I would avoid, especially at advanced level, I would avoid starting the sentence with but. Okay, but in general, it's a good sentence. It's a very good introduction. Okay, let's continue. If you have a question, please put your question here in the chat. And hello, everybody. Ploy, thank you for your comment. And Crew, ma'am, thank you as well for your comment. If you have a question, Crew or Ploy, please ask a question during the lesson and hopefully I can correct. But thank you for connecting and thank you for watching. I hope you can see the text because obviously it's very small. So let's continue. On the one hand, perfect, because this is considered a linker. On the one hand, on the other hand. And next, you can see on the other hand, sorry, so that's a typical complement on the one hand, on the other hand. Some people ask, is it possible in the one hand? The preposition in the one hand or on the one hand? What do you think? Are you more comfortable in the one hand or on the one hand? For me, I think it is more typical on, but it's not strict. And some people say in the one hand, and that's fine as well. So let me write this comment here. We can say in the one hand, or you can say on the one hand, and both are okay. Okay, so there's no problem really with that. There's no problem. You could say in the one hand or on the one hand. And as I said, the second part is here, complementing, and very, very good. Museums should be, again, modal verb for recommendation and advice. That's perfect. Maybe repetition. Maybe we are repeating should again and again. So you should try to think of an alternative in terms of vocabulary for should. So take your time in studying. If you're taking notes at the moment, maybe take a note and try to think of an alternative, a synonym for should for the future. One example is ought to. Museums ought to. So this is a synonym. Ought to is a synonym for should, and that's important. Museums should be the institutions that require to receive a lot of money because people have lost the interest in, and this is a very good structure as well because that's the typical combination, to lose interest. Very typical combination, to lose interest. You can lose interest in sport, you can lose interest in socializing, you can lose interest in a television program. It's very typical to lose interest in. But we must be clear the difference between the verb, the noun, the adjective connected to the verb to lose. So let me write and show you because this is very important. The verb is to lose. The noun is a loss. Okay? And the adjective is lost. And we must be very clear with this difference. So specifically, the noun is a loss and the verb is to lose. For intermediate level, you must know the difference between the verb to lose and to miss. You miss your friend emotionally. You miss the bus. You miss a plane. You miss a taxi. So just be careful the difference between to lose and to miss, but I think that's more intermediate. Let's continue. So lose interest is fantastic. The past is irregular. Lose, lost. In visiting and promoting them, no problem. In a world where, that's a good relative pronoun. So this is an example of a relative pronoun when, where, that, which. True values, very important values, things you think are very important, they're your values, are not respected as like. Perfect. They should be. Now I see the verb should again. So now I feel stronger about using a synonym for should. I think this student would be better if they could use a synonym for should. It is difficult, but ought to is a very clear synonym for should at the moment. Okay, so that's a difficult sentence. In a world where true values are not respected as they should be, it is important to remember what really matters. Good. What is really important. So for me, the first few sentences are very, very good. Very good. Moreover, a linker, an advanced linker, appropriate for an essay, appropriate for academic writing, appropriate for this writing. Very good. Excellent. Now we have a few mistakes. And again, should be. So definitely, it's very obvious now this student has used the verb should 5 times in the first 3 sentences. Definitely, the student needs a synonym. So when you are writing, be very careful about this. It's very important that you select synonyms and different ways to say the same thing, because the examiner will notice these issues. So be very aware about that. Now, young men, fine. Remember, singular, 1 man, 2 men. Plural is irregular. However, this is a little rule. When we speak about things in general, men, young men in general, like this case, the definite article, the, is removed. So the correct sentence here is just young men. Young men are happy. Young men are interested in movies. So in general, young men, therefore the rule, the, eliminate. That's difficult, and a lot of people make this mistake. So here, because we speak about young men in general, we remove the. So that's a difficult rule, but it's very important because lots of people make that mistake. And I think I have explained in my grammar lessons in the morning this rule a few weeks ago. Should be aware, should be conscious, should be aware of the importance, very good, of knowing basic things in different domains. So different domains is a very good expression, very good vocabulary. So a domain is very similar to a field. For example, you work in the field of education. You work in the area of education. You work in the sphere or the zone in the domain. Very good quality vocabulary. Basic things, it's okay, it's very simple. So I'm happy with this sentence, very happy, apart from the. So moreover, young men should be aware of the importance of knowing basic things. I would suggest a synonym for basic things because that's very simple and this level is advanced, such as foundational concepts, common knowledge, something a little bit better than basic things. That's very simple in different domains. As I said, different domains is very good. So that's a good sentence, more or less, except for the. For example, science and history museums provide people. Okay, here we have a big obvious confusion and obvious mistake, a few mistakes here. The verb to provide, actually I have a doubt as well, because for science, a subject I think maybe has a capital letter, actually. So I'm not sure if science and history have a capital letter. That's my doubt. However, the verb to provide is very important. I provide you, typical with the preposition with. I provide you with English lessons. You provide your family with food. So it's very typical, provide with and provide for. Let me explain. Provide with and provide for. The difference, you provide somebody with something. Okay, so you provide somebody with something. That's the structure. I provide you with English lessons, but you provide for somebody. So you provide for your family, you provide for your children, you provide for your friends. You produce the material and the content for your friend or for your person. Okay, and in this sentence, I think we require a preposition. So museums provide people with. Now, information. So interesting is fine. Okay. Interesting is the adjective. It's okay. Very interesting. It's okay. It's probably intermediate. I would try again more decorated vocabulary. Information is the problem. So it's uncountable. You remember the concept of countable and uncountable. Bottle, one bottle, two bottles, three bottles. Bottle is countable. Information, we cannot count information. One information, two information, no. Information, advice, water, chocolate, air, money. We cannot count them. Money is confusing because we count €1, €2, but money in general we cannot count. Information is the same. We do not count information. So information is considered uncountable. Therefore, the S, we never say informations. The structure is a bit of information, a piece of information, a little information. They are the ways to count information. So in this sentence, it's necessary to eliminate the S because the plural also is information. So history museums provide people with very interesting information, and that's fine, but the S is necessary to remove, and I would suggest a synonym to improve very interesting, such as fascinating. Interesting adjective, very interesting, intense. Fascinating, a better adjective for advanced level. Fascinating information, something like that. So I would suggest fascinating instead of very interesting. So a couple of mistakes, two big mistakes in that sentence, but no problem. Let's continue. Therefore, a linker, good. In order to, very good, very important, because for me this is very fluent and this is difficult to learn when you're learning English. In order to has the same significance as the infinitive. For example, I go to the shop in order to buy milk. So my intention, my purpose is to buy milk. I give this lesson in order to show you the corrections. It's a very, very simple, very, very fluent and important use of English. So as a result, therefore, in order to have well informed is a very good adjective. If you are well informed, this means you're very aware, you're very educated, you understand all the information, and you're well informed. It's a very good adjective, and it's appropriate for advanced English. So if you want, in order to have well informed teenagers, look, okay, so here we have a plural. Again, I think in this case, we are also speaking about local authorities in general. Therefore, we need also again to eliminate the, remove the, because local authorities in general we are speaking about. So we must remove the again, and that's important. I do not think you will be penalized for the same mistake twice because it's the same mistake. So I don't think it's a double punishment. And again, should. So this student needs to think of a synonym thinks of more synonyms for should. And this is a very advanced mistake. I think a lot of people would make this mistake, including myself, of course. So I'm suggesting everybody tries to think of synonyms for should. Local authorities should give money to, that's correct preposition, give to museums. Okay, with that money, that's okay. It's creative, it's a linker and it's creative. With that money, now we have another mistake. It can be organized events like the day of open museums. Normally, I I always, well, teachers always tell students to have a subject. Nearly always it's necessary to have a subject for the sentence. So before the verb, you need the subject most of the time. So I understand the student here with it, but it does not make sense in this case because the verb is to organize. Okay, the principal verb is to organize. Can is the auxiliary modal for ability. You can with ability or permission. Can. So the main verb, the principal verb is organize. But who is the subject of the verb? Who is the person organizing? I organize, you organize, we organize, the authority organize, the government organize, etc., etc. So the person organizes, and this is also the verb be plus the modal. This is an example of an attempt to create the passive. So I hope you understand the concept of the active and the passive. So let me write here in my notes, because I organize an event. That is considered the active voice because the subject is I, the verb is organize, and event is the object. However, to create the passive, we change the position. An event and sorry, I'll just make it more realistic. So we have an auxiliary verb as well. In the active, we have the auxiliary verb can. So I can organize an event. Therefore, the passive, we change the position. An event can plus the auxiliary verb to be is necessary when constructing the passive, and the participle can be organized by me. This is now the passive voice. Okay, so we have the active, I can organize an event, subject, verb, verbs, and object is the active. To change the position, an event can be organized, passive, by me. Okay, so that's important to understand. And in this situation, I think the position is incorrect. So we need to put events at the start. Events can be organized, and that's correct. So there's a confusion here. I hope you understand. And I think we need to remove it and substitute with events can be organized, like the day of open museums. That's understandable. So that's the first correction. Events, the position needs to be at the start of the sentence, and remove it because it's not correct. The day of open museums is understandable, but it's not fluent. The most typical structure with this idea, it's the same for university. You go to a university for one day, it's open, and we normally say open days, one word. So events like open days, it's a little difficult. Maybe I'm a little fussy, but an open day is one word normally in this situation. An open day event. The bank has an open day, the university has an open day, and the museum has an open day. That's the typical structure. So I think that's better and more necessary here. So events like open days or museum open days. And that's obvious. For advanced proficient English, that's definitely necessary to correct. So this section in particular has 4 or 5 corrections necessary to make. But number one, I understand very well. So that's important in terms of the correction. The reader must understand. And yes, I understand everything. But you want to make it more fluent and more correct. And that's the different levels. So previously, this section is very, very good. The first 2-3 sentences are excellent, but as I said, the second part requires a couple of changes. So let's continue again. On the other hand, very good, and it complements the first part. Green spaces should. So you can see again and again and again and again, the use of should is obvious, and we need to think of synonyms for this because that's too many times we've used the same word. Green spaces should also receive money from local authorities. Good, no problem, very general. Mainly because, so that's a type of a linker, and I am doubting the position of the comma. Maybe a comma is necessary after because, but it's creative. It's an unusual linker, but it's very good for this reason because it's new and it's unique. Mainly because in big cities, I think that's okay. Where relative pronoun, good. The air is very polluted, good. Again, very for advanced English, when you can, try to think of synonyms to replace very. For example, very tired, exhausted, very happy, ecstatic. So normally when you have very plus the adjective, you might be able to find a better adjective. Very polluted could be toxic. Something simple like toxic. Trees can absorb, so it's a modal verb, they have the ability to absorb many of the gases produced. Good. Leading to, very, very good quality. Leading to is the consequence, leading to a much healthier environment. So in general, that's a very good sentence. Let me repeat. Mainly because in big cities where the air is very polluted, trees can absorb many of the gases produced, leading to a much healthier environment. Very clear, but I would perhaps suggest more punctuation. I would suggest maybe a full stop, maybe a comma, because it's a long sentence and I think the student requires a comma or some type of punctuation to break this sentence. And maybe it begins at the start. This is the confusion I feel immediately at the start. Mainly because in big cities where the air is very polluted, comma, trees can absorb many of the gases produced, full stop. This can lead to a healthier environment. So I think definitely we need a little punctuation added to that sentence in particular. Furthermore, another linker, and very good linker as well, very appropriate for an essay, very appropriate for academic writing, and the essay always is assumed to be academic. There can be built spaces, so I have a little uncomfortable feeling with this expression. But let's continue. There can be built spaces for, so it's an unusual combination. Built spaces. What is a built spaces? Maybe you can say dedicated spaces is more typical. Dedicated spaces or specific spaces. You know what I mean? So something a little better and more specific than built spaces. So I would suggest to improve that particular combination for kids to play, and also running tracks, maybe a full stop, maybe the end of the sentence, and also running tracks, good vocabulary for people who, relative pronoun, good, cannot afford good vocabulary to go to the gym. So quite good, but I would suggest built spaces to think of an alternative way to say build spaces. As I said, dedicated areas, specific areas, something a bit better than this particular sentence combination. Let's continue. It is important for people to keep doing exercises in open air, and in my opinion, parks are the best place. Not bad. Very general. Very intermediate, I would suggest. Maybe I would have a linker connecting the last sentence with the previous sentence, some type of linking word. It isn't, because it doesn't really connect, in my opinion, at the moment. So maybe a linker would be better to connect that sentence with the previous sentence. It is important for people to keep doing exercises in open air. It's okay. And in my opinion, parks are the best place for this or for that. Okay, let's look at the last sentence. All in all, this is a linker, and it's a very good linker in summary to sum up, finally, all in all. As far as I am concerned, very, very good. Very good quality English. As far as I know, as far as I believe, as far as I am concerned, that's very good. I hope you might understand it. It means to the best of my knowledge. So I understand this quantity, and with this quantity of knowledge, I have my opinion. It's a very, very fluent expression. As far as I know, as far as I believe, as far as I understand, as far as I'm concerned. The most important facility that should receive, again, repetition, investment from local authorities. And local authority is singular. And here, I think we need plural, local authorities in general, or an article, a local authority, are the museums. Again, museums are probably in general, so I would eliminate the. That is not necessary. So it's a very difficult lesson, very difficult grammatical issue, this article in particular. So interesting. Personally, I am very happy to correct people's writing. I enjoy correcting people's writing because I think it's a very brave thing to do. People learning English have more, maybe they require more bravery to write, and it's a difficult task because it's hard. And I like correcting English for this reason, because people are doing their best, and this student obviously did their best, and it's good. It's very, very good. And I think students should try to improve, and the only way to improve is to practice. So I repeat, if you are watching, if you are interested, please, you are welcome to send some writing to me about any topic, and I can correct your writing during the next lessons. Every week I want to have a lesson dedicated to correcting people's writings, and I would prefer to correct your writing in a picture. This is obviously typed, but I would prefer an authentic, realistic writing of anybody. So please take advantage of that offer and send me some of your writing from me to correct at any time. Okay, let's look at the answers from the commentary from the examiner. What is the opinion of the examiner? What is the opinion of the examiner in relation to this essay, in relation to the criteria? First, any questions? If you have a question, put your question on Facebook. And perfect. So crew, thank you so much, and I'm happy that you understand. And Nagauj Lig Hauj, thank you for watching as well. So thank you very much. I'll just like this just to interact. And again, thank you so much for your comments. And I think that's everything. Perfect. So of course, feel free to leave your comment when you want. Let's look at the commentary. All content is relevant to the task, and the target reader is fully informed. So the mark is maximum 5. The candidate discusses 2 of the proposed facilities, museums and parks, and chooses one of them museums to benefit from extra funding. So the student answered the question perfectly. The candidate, the student, discusses the reasons why they should receive money. So you must give your reasons, and that was in the question, and that's good. For example, science and history museums provide people, so grammatically a couple of mistakes, but the student has given the reasons. The final decision is made in the final paragraph, and that was another part of the question. Next, communicative achievement. The conventions of essay writing are used well. So the conventions of essay writing are the structures, the rules, typical rules necessary for writing an essay. There is a clear opening paragraph, a strong conclusion, and there is no doubt where the money could go. So it's very, very clear, very logical, and communication is very good. And that's specifically related to this category, communicative achievement, your ability to communicate your opinion, to communicate your answer. For example, as far as I'm concerned, the most important facility, so it's very clear. The register, formal, informal, semi-formal, is consistently formal because it's an essay, and the essay is objective in the tone, and that's required normally from an essay. Giving opinions, supporting statements with evidence. Good for communication of an essay. The clear paragraphing helps to keep the attention. That's important that you maintain the attention of the reader as well. And you communicate both straightforward, clear, and complex ideas very logically. So that's important. That word straightforward means very clear and very understandable. Next, organization. The text is well organized and coherent and uses a variety of cohesive device. Remember, a cohesive device is a linker. And in this essay, there is a variety and a good quantity of the linkers appropriately also. I was impressed by this myself, generally to good effect. The ideas are clearly introduced nowadays. On the one hand, moreover, for example, therefore, on the other hand, furthermore, all in all, very, very good quality of linkers, cohesive devices. There is a mix, a combination of long and short sentences. So you have a good variety and a good mix of long sentences and short sentences. And some of the shorter ones could benefit from being combined. So that's the opinion of the examiner. A lot of examiners will have different opinions, more or less. Organizational patterns are evident. For example, the first paragraph, okay, so that's just the opinion of the writer. And the final sentence uses substitution to set out the main idea. Okay, so let's continue at the language. Interestingly, the score for language is only 2. So this examiner thinks the vocabulary and the grammar was low for advanced level. There is a range of relevant vocabulary, yes, but this is not always used successfully to communicate the full idea. So that's very critical of the vocabulary. The vocabulary is not used successfully to communicate the ideas. For example, in a world where true values are not respected as they should be, this has an appropriate tone and is accurate. It has little relevance to the text in general and adds no extra information. So that's very, very critical in my opinion. But it's valuable and important to understand and read. So I recommend you read this section again to try and understand yourself. A range of simple and complex grammatical structures is used with control, and I think that's positive. However, there are a few word order and pronoun problems. So yes, that was the problem I identified. We have noticed this, and that's a grammar problem. And you can see the penalty. There is a big penalty for these mistakes in this particular score. There are also errors with plurals, articles, but they do not impede communication. And this is the comment I made. Yes, I understand perfectly the message, but there's lots of mistakes. But that's the rule. It does not impede communication. Okay, so interesting, very, very interesting commentary. Good. So this is a very, very good activity. It's a very good lesson. I think it's very valuable for students, and I hope that people can benefit from this explanation and from this analysis and from this lesson. As I said, I am encouraging you. I hope you can send some writing, and I can correct your writing when you are ready. So please send me some writing, and for me it's more interesting and more interactive and beneficial for you and for everybody watching. So please send some writing, and I can correct your writing during this lesson. Great. Thank you for watching. Remember, if you want to advertise, if you are a company and if you are a business, at the moment I'm contacting companies, I'm contacting businesses to support me, to sponsor me, to advertise here. So if you are a business, an organization, a charity, an association, and you want to support my lessons, you are welcome to contact me, and you can put your company information here, and I can share the company information with the people watching. So that's one possibility. If you are a student and you want to support me, you can support me by making a donation through the bank or via PayPal. All the information is on my Facebook page, and you can support me in this way. So this will be very useful and important for me. Contact, if you want to contact me on social media, if you want to follow my material on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Pinterest, and WhatsApp, you can join and follow all the material there. And you can also leave your comment, ask a question, and contact me in these ways. This is my schedule. So this week I have 3 lessons every day, and it's on my Facebook page. You can see my schedule and the timetable for this week. So today we're finished, and tomorrow we return at 8:45 in the morning to give a grammar lesson. And I hope you can join, or I hope you can watch later yourself. Great, so that is everything, and thank you so much. Today's lesson was correcting your writing. Finally, I will check for the comments. If you have a comment, please leave your comment. And yes, so Crumb, our crew ma'am, you can see the contact information on the page. Crew ma'am, you can see here. And that's all the information for the contact: Instagram, TikTok, WhatsApp, YouTube, and Pinterest as well. And Nagauj Lig Hauj, thank you so much, and please tell me if my pronunciation is correct. I think the pronunciation is Nakauj Lig Hauj, and I don't know if that's a name or something in your language as well. So thank you so much for watching, and I just will finish with saying thank you very much, and please leave your comment whenever you want as well. Fantastic. Have a very good afternoon. Have a good Tuesday, and hopefully I will see you very soon. And thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting. And please put your friends in contact if they're interested in learning this way online as well. Thank you so much. So crew, thank you. Perfect. And enjoy the rest of your day as well. Thank you so much. Have a good day, and hopefully talk to you soon, and take care. Bye-bye.